In this video, we are going to look at income tax, which is deducted from your salary on a monthly basis. So let's look at what a salary slip looks like. Here's an example of a salary slip. Let's look at all the information given to us. Firstly, it starts with a person's name and their address, as well as the start of their employment date. It could also have the information of the employer on here. Now, nextly, there are sometimes two, or in this case, even three columns. So let's start with the deductions, which are actually the easiest part of what is on your payslip. So firstly, there's PAYE, which stands for pay as you earn. Just like a pay-as-you-go cell phone contract, this is money that's deducted from your salary on a monthly basis that goes to SARS, the South African Revenue Service. So this amount over here is your tax. On the next page, we're going to have a look at how to calculate this amount when your salary is given. Then, if you are employed, you also contribute to an unemployment insurance fund, or the UIF. Now, if you earn a very small salary, this is normally 1% of your income, but it's also capped at 140 Rand. So as you can see here, 140 Rand. Then if you contribute towards some medical aid, that would also be one of your deductions on your payslip, especially if your employer also pays a part of this over on your behalf. Then if you're on Discovery, you might know Vitality. So if you have Vitality, that's a separate payment. And lastly, if you belong to any unions, that would also be one of your deductions here. So once all these deductions are on here, it is taken away from your basic salary in order to get your net salary. So the basic salary here was 26,400, and then all these deductions were deducted to get your net pay. So what does this benefits mean over here on the far left hand side? If your employer contributes towards a provident fund on your behalf, it means that they pay for your provident fund and they pay for your basic salary. These two together make out your cost to company. But you don't pay tax on 30,000 Rand a month, you only pay tax on 26,400 Rand a month, because this is your actual salary, while the provident fund is merely a benefit, and we say it's a non-taxable benefit because you don't pay tax on it. Other terminology that you need to know is tax threshold. So if you earn below a certain amount, you do not have to pay tax. For people under the age of 65, this is 83,100 Rand a year. So that works out to just under 7,000 Rand a month. And you would know that 7,000 Rand a month in today's age is actually very, very little, especially if you need to pay for housing and food and medical bills. So people that earn a basic wage or a basic salary would not pay tax. In South Africa, the minimum wage, and wage here is an hourly remuneration, the minimum wage is 20 Rand per hour. So you are actually, as an employer, you're not allowed to pay your employees less than 20 Rand an hour. But remember, this also includes casual jobs. So if, for example, you're a lifeguard over weekends and you earn a minimum pay, you don't have to pay tax on it. Or maybe you're in cashier while you are studying, and that will also be quite a small amount because you don't work regular hours. You will not have to pay tax. If you go to the SARS, or South African Revenue Services website, you will find the following information. Firstly, there is a table indicating the annual salary as well as the tax formula that applies to each of the categories in which your salary might fall into. On the left-hand side that I've indicated here in blue is the categories for your annual salary, while on the right-hand side is the formula to calculate your tax that applies to each of these salary categories. So, for example, if you earn less than 205,900 Rand per year or per annum, then 18% of that income goes towards tax. But as you start earning more, you will see that the percentage also increase. So in the next interval over here, we see that you pay 26% over to SARS, but it is only for the amount that's over 205,900. So it's almost like the water tariff table, where the first amount that you earn is 18%, and then after that it's 26%. But you don't have to worry working through different categories, because these formulas over here on the side tells you exactly what to do. This amount here have actually been worked out on those step-by-step processes. The other information given on the SARS website is the tax rebate. So everybody gets a little bit of money back, but it's the same for everyone. So that will make more of an impact if you earn less and less of an impact if you earn more. If you are 65 years or younger, then you get 14,958 Rand. If you're over 65, then you get an additional 8,199. And if you're over 75, you get even more. You get an additional 2,736. So that's why they say primary, secondary, and tertiary, because someone that's 77 years, for example, will get all three of them. The last thing that we're going to look at here is the medical rebates. But be careful, because this is the only one that works on a monthly basis. So once you've calculated your tax and you've worked out what you pay per month, then from your monthly tax, these amounts on the right-hand side will be deducted. So it's around about 300 Rand for yourself, another around about 300 Rand for any additional person that's also in your medical aid, and for any person after that, it will be 215 Rand. These rates change every year, so in this tax table, you will see that it's for the 2021 tax year, and although we're not in 2021 just yet, the tax year runs from March to February. So from March 2020 to February 2021, these rates apply. So let's look at an example. If we look at Tatiana here, she is a 40-year-old lawyer and she earns 80,000 Rand per month as a salary, and she contributes to a medical aid for herself as well as her 2 children. So if we need to calculate her monthly tax, we need to go through quite a lengthy process. Luckily for you, I've set out the steps here on the side that we have to work through to make it a little bit easier for you. Firstly, her monthly salary was given as 80,000 Rand, and because we know that in the tax table the annual salaries are given on the left-hand side, we need to find out what her annual salary is. So we start by saying 80,000 multiplied by 12 months. And this will always be 12 months unless they tell you that she earns a bonus or a 13th check. And that gives me 960,000. This places Tatiana in the last category over here, which means the formula that applies is the one right at the bottom. So just to make it a little bit easier, let's just rub out these ones over here to show that she falls into the last category according to her salary. And now we're going to use the tax formula given to us on the right hand side of the table. So it starts off with 207,448 Rand plus 40%, and you can write this as a decimal of 0.41, multiplied by, and here is where you need to be very careful. It says the amount above or more than 708,310. So that means you need to take her salary and you need to subtract the 708,310 from that. This gives me an annual tax amount of 310,640 Rand and 90 cents. So as you can see, that is quite a substantial amount. Luckily, she gets a rebate, and because the information here has told us that she is 40 years old, we know that she is under the age of 65, and therefore she only receives the primary rebate. So in our next step, we will have to take her annual tax, which we just calculated as 310,640 Rand and 90 cents, and we're going to make that tax less, because that's what the rebate does, it's money back, by 14,220. And that gives us a little bit less tax of 296,420 and 90 cents. Before I can take away her medical rebates, I first need to find out what her monthly tax is, because as you will remember, the medical rebates work on a monthly basis. So the next step is actually quite easy. All I need to do is take the previous answer, of her annual tax and divide it by 12, because that will give me my monthly tax. And if I do that, I see that that is 24,701 Rand and 74 cents. Now she contributes towards a medical aid for herself and 2 children. That means 303, as well as the first dependent, so there's 2 of them over here, 2 303s, as well as another 204 Rand. So in my next step, I will need to take that 24,701 Rand and 74 cents, and I will need to take away 303 Rand for herself, 303 Rand for her first dependent, and 204 Rand for her second dependent. So remember, once again, this is a medical rebate, so this is money that she gets back, and therefore it makes her tax less. And that means her monthly tax contribution is 23,891 Rand and 74 cents. Let's have a look at Sebastian's situation. He is a young accountant and his remuneration package is 40,000 Rand a month. This includes a Provident Fund contribution of 2,500 Rand. And you need to be very, very careful when you see this, because you would remember when we went through the salary packages that the Provident Fund does not have any tax on it. Therefore, the 40,000 is not his basic salary. His basic salary is 2,500 Rand less. So if we can make a note here for ourselves right at the top, is that we need to take 40,000 and we need to take the 2,500 Rand away from that to get his basic salary, which is 37,000 Rand 500. Now this is a good thing, because he would rather want to pay tax on 37,500 than on 40,000, because his tax will therefore be less. So remember to take that away. That is very, very important. Now that I have his monthly salary, I can go and calculate his annual salary. And this is, remember, we call this his annual taxable salary. So although that's not the full 40,000, it is only the amount on which he pays tax. So we take 37,500 and we multiply it by 12 months, and this gives us an amount of 450,000. Always go and look on the left-hand side of your column to see where it fits into, and we can see that it fits here in the 4th category, and therefore I need to use the formula on the right-hand side of the table as well for the 4th category. In this category, the formula is 100,263 plus 36%, which I'm once again going to write as 0.36, times, because it's of, and we want to see how much more he earns than the 423,300 in the formula. So therefore I need to subtract that from his salary. And this gives me an amount of 109,875. Just like Tatiana, he also gets a rebate, and he only gets the primary rebate because he's under the age of 65. We know this because they say he's a young accountant. So always try and figure out how old the person is so that you know how the rebates work. And remember, the rebates is money that makes his tax less, it's money that he gets back. So therefore we need to minus it from his annual tax. And that gives me 95,655. My next step before I can take away his medical rebate is to find out what his monthly tax is. So we have to take the previous amount and divide it by 12 again. And that will give us an amount of, we write here, divide by 12, an amount of 7,971 Rand and 25 cents. It says he contributes to medical aid for himself, so we only have to take away one amount of 303 Rand. So that is our last step that we have to do here. So if we minus 303, it gives us an amount of 7,668 Rand and 25 cents. and that will be his monthly tax. In this last example, we are going to do tax backwards. This means that the monthly tax amount is given and we are asking for her annual salary. So let's look at the situation. Calculate the annual salary of Unam, who's a 22-year-old beautician, and she pays 2,500 Rand tax per month. She does not contribute to medical aid, which really makes this question a little bit easier. So let's assume that Unam is still on her parents' medical aid, and we just work straight with our last step. So remember that in the previous example, our last thing was to do the monthly medical rebate, but we don't need to do that. So we're going to start straight with monthly tax. And if we know that her monthly tax is 2,500, I can work backwards to find her annual tax. So instead of dividing by 12, I'm going to multiply by 12. And this gives me 30,000 Rand. Now remember, we're doing everything in reverse. So instead of subtracting the rebate, we're going to add on her rebate. So just do the whole previous process that you've done by working forwards and just do everything in reverse. So instead of dividing by 12, we times by 12. Instead of subtracting the rebates, we're going to add on the rebate. So if we do that over here, we get an amount of 44,220. So this will be her tax after the rebate has been deducted, which remember we worked backwards, so therefore we added. Now I need to try and find out which tax formula was used to do this. And once again, we are going to look on the right hand side of the tax table to find out where this amount of 44,220 would fit into. Now, in doing this, we will see that the first one is going to be less than 35,000, and in the next category is going to be less than 63,000. So if she pays tax of 44,220, it means it must be in the second category because it's more than 35,000, but it's less than 63. So let's just indicate that in here, that is the category in which she falls into. And let's just take the additional highlighting away here. So now that I have her formula, let's see how we can apply this formula backwards. And I'm going to start by writing out the formula in the normal way, 35,253 plus 0.26 times, and remember normally her salary would go here, so for now just make a block or a question mark and then subtract 195,850 from that, and you know that the answer to this must be 44,220. So we're going to do this process in reverse, and this is the part where it gets a little bit tricky. So what we need to do is the following, and let's just write it here at the bottom where the little star is. We're going to start with 44,220, and I'm going to take away 35,253. And you can do this process with me, and every time between each of the steps we're going to hit equal on our calculator. So that gives me 8,967. Once you've done this, instead of multiplying by 26%, we are going to divide by 26%. So that is your next step to do on your calculator, and you can also press equal in between. So I put it in big brackets over here, but on your calculator you can really just press equal in between, but the brackets is just a shorter way of writing it. And our last step, instead of minusing 195,850, we're going to add on 195,850. And if you do that, let's type it in here quickly, that will give you your final annual salary, which is 230,338 Rand and 46 cents. And that will be her annual salary. And in this case, also your final answer. Always make sure if they ask for the annual salary or the monthly salary, that you don't accidentally forget to divide your final answer by 12. But in this case, they asked you for her annual salary.